Good morning, everybody. Welcome to this interview by Core Recruitment. Thank you very much for joining us today. Core Recruitment, if you're not aware, is an international recruitment company, and we do mid to senior level recruitment across exec and non-exec recruitment. We're really lucky to be joined by lots of different industry characters, entrepreneurs, investors, chief execs who are sharing some of their stories with us to get some positivity into the market at the moment. And we're really lucky to be joined today by Florian from the Salad Project. And Florian's just moved to Paris, has two small children, just had a £9 million investment, opened a site in Canary Wharf, is about to do an expansion into France as well. Florian, what else have you got on your plate at the moment? Thought you'd bite off a few things, doing an MBA or anything at the moment? No?
No, doing interviews with you, Chris.
Now, we first met about 2 years ago at an industry kind of like conference thing. And about 12 o'clock, you turned around to me and said, "Oh, do you know what time they're starting again?" And you went back and worked in a shop over lunchtime because it was really busy. And then you came back to the conference afterwards. And I thought at the time, my God, that guy is on it. Do you still work hands-on in the business?
Not as much as I'd like to, and I can remember that. I think it was a catastrophic day where I think the sky literally just fell on our heads. I Now that I'm in Paris, I've just really relocated. We don't actually have a site yet, so I can't do that. But when I'm in London, I try to pop in for a lunch service once a month, and then we have this policy internally where every single HQ team member has to do a full day or quarter in the shops. But I'd say I'm probably equally as busy, probably equally as running behind, but it's kind of different problems that I'm tackling now than back then.
I love this. This is like building the plane as you're flying the plane. This is like incredible. I love hearing these stories. So, for those who don't know the Salad Project, can you tell us a little bit about the concept and a bit of an overview of the business?
Sure. So Salad Project is a salad bar that effectively is aiming at being the best salad bar in the world. It's the best way to describe it. And and what I mean by that is, salad bars have existed before our time. Salad bars will probably continue to exist long after the Salad Project ceases to exist. But our simple mission is whatever we do, we want to make sure we do in the absolute best way. Whether that's the food, the in-store experience, the branding, the tech integration, the service you're going to get from the staff, the location of our shops, etc. It's a 360-degree approach. And we focus on highly customizable, incredibly large salads that are filled with warm ingredients. So those are kind of the three product USPs, if you like. And we have been going for 4 years, 4.5 years now. We have 12 stores in London, soon to be 16 by the end of the year, and we're now launching in Paris.
Now, in terms of like, because I'm a customer of the Salad Project as well, and kind of like, and I can't seem to go on Deliveroo and order something from you guys without spending 25 quid on a salad. Is there like a support group that you can go to? Is there kind of like, something like that? How much money are you making out of these add-ons? It's incredible.
Chris, I think the answer lies in the question. You should have a long, hard look at yourself in the mirror and wonder why you're not walking to the salad project rather than getting a delivery. It's what we call that's the tax you have to pay for not getting us direct.
Oh my God, the shame. I can't handle the shame. My God. Now, there were other salad concepts, as you mentioned, kind of like before you, but I don't think they were getting nearly the level of traction that yourself and others are getting in the market at the moment. What do you think you've done differently? Is this a trend that you think is here to stay?
Uh, I'll start with a second question. I would love to. Obviously, you see concepts come and go, and it'd be incredibly naive or maybe even arrogant to think that trends, that what's happened to the island pokies and the patties and buns of this world isn't going to happen for Salad Project. But I'm an optimistic entrepreneur. But I think that where we may be different, and I hope that we may weather loss of hype and loss of trend, is that fundamentally we're in the healthy sector, and that's only going one direction. People are only eating more healthy. It's not the other way around. And secondly, what makes the Salad Project what it is we focus on a quality experience, and that's why it's the price that it is, right? And I'd like to think that when you offer quality experience, quality of food, quality of service, and quality of in-store experience, whilst the hype might go, as long as the value, the incredible value is still there, I'd like to believe that you can continue to be successful. So that's that. And then I can't remember the other half of the question, Krish, now.
It was why you think kind of like some of the concepts previously maybe haven't gained as much traction.
At the risk of repeating myself, I think that fundamentally, if we look specifically at the world of salad bars in London, I think that what was happening is you had a couple of players who, in my opinion, were getting two things wrong. The first thing is they were not looking at fast casual as a holistic experience. They were only focusing on one aspect, whether it be the location or the food or the value, or they were not looking at it from a 360 point of view and a holistic approach. And I think that's one point. And I think the other thing is that salad has a bit of a bad rep. And I think what the concepts are trying to do is they were trying to, they were like, salad can't be exciting. So in order to sell any salads, I've got to try and sell it as absolutely cheap as possible because otherwise no one else is going to buy it. Literally no one's going to buy it, right? Which meant that the salads were very, very boring, very cold, very unexciting. Portions were tiny. And I don't think you can build long-term success on compromises from the start. We flipped it around entirely and we said, no, we want the salad project to be a habit, but to be a treat. You're going to be excited when you walk into the salad project. You're not going to be like, I'm coming in here because I need to calorie count because I was really naughty over Christmas, or because I've spent way too much money. I've only got a budget of £4 per lunch, right? Which meant that whilst the word salad continues to remain unexciting, if you actually have one of our products, it's amazing. The portion is huge. There's so many flavors. You can build your own entirely. It's incredibly filling. It's exciting, and it can be super indulgent, and it can be super lean. It's completely up to what you want it to be, right? And so it's by and then you charge the price that you have to in order to deliver that experience. It's kind of like you don't, and this is probably a shit analogy, and I apologize already for the listeners, but it's kind of like you walk into, when Apple made their phone, they were like, let's make the best possible thing and then we'll worry about pricing it afterwards. You never walk into an app, you seldomly walk into an Apple store, you see the price, you're like, oh God, this is painful. You buy the iPhone. It's quite rare that you sit there and think, well, that product is actually a bit shit. I shouldn't have
Mm.
done that. Right. Now, I just, with humility, I'm not trying to compare ourselves to Apple, but that's kind of the thinking. It's kind of like we're going to deliver on the quality, and we'll have to pay to charge the price that we do. And in the end, that kind of resonated with customers.
Yeah, I have to say, like, as a customer and somebody who does use your product a lot, like, I always come back for more. So I completely agree with you. On the odd occasion when I do leave the office, because I'm extremely busy and important, I'm joking, it's fine. I'm very busy. I'm trying to justify my Deliveroo spend. I walk past your Royal Exchange site kind of like quite often, and especially kind of last thing in the day. Sometimes it looks like there's a party going on in there. So is this like, have you been quite good at promoting external events? Are the staff just drinking after hours? What's kind of going on in kind of like, some of your sites that you're doing kind of like outside of just selling salad?
I hope it's probably a combination of the two. Um, I think what the staff love to do is once the shops close, they blast their own music on the, which can be, given we have a very, very diverse and very multicultural workforce, you can get everything from some kind of like reggaeton to kind of Hindu rap. So it's going to be quite fun, and they love dancing. But anyways, no, we do a load of events in our bank store. We try to promote a lifestyle at the Salad Project. It's we don't just shout about our product. We shout about the amazing benefits and the amazing habit that you can build around our product. And so that means that we're constantly trying to introduce our community into this lifestyle, meaning we're running talks, events. I'm doing a talk at bank in that store actually in next week. Kind of based on entrepreneurship, and we do wellness events and sport events, and all sorts of things, which is just really about tapping into that community.
Now, Florian, one of the major challenges that hospitality businesses are facing at the moment is attracting funding. And you guys have obviously just secured £9 million, which is absolutely incredible. I can't imagine that was an easy process. Can you just walk us through how you went about doing that, and how you managed to engage kind of the right businesses?
Yeah, well, I can confirm that it's not an easy process. It's not easy. It's lengthy, and it can be quite disheartening. Even though I obviously am delighted that we were lucky enough to get through and to the other side of it. Um, it's a very useful process because it forces you to have a real kind of self introspection moment about what it is that you've done thus far and what it is that you want to do in the future and whether that's realistic or not. And putting numbers and next to decisions and realistically choosing not to do things rather than to do things, which is the biggest challenge these days. Um, we managed to raise funds because we're lucky that we have some of our customers that have been some of our investors from day one, and some relatively high-profile business angels in London who have been able to support us since day one. The likes of Nick Jones and Wilshire, who were just customers. We didn't know them. They just loved what we did, and it's really, really hard to convince anybody to part their money. Full stop. But it's significantly easier to convince somebody who is just naturally a brand advocate, right? Who, out of their own accord, has decided that they want to incorporate Talent Project into their life, right? Much easier to get these guys to part with their money than to send a deck to someone who just doesn't know you, hasn't tested you, and hasn't actually really made the Talent Project a habit of theirs, right? So that was amazing. We also needed to that in itself wasn't enough. We needed to convince institutionals, and we wanted institutionals because James and I, as founders of this business, with 31, we're pretty inexperienced. We're running a business that turns over, in the 25 million pounds run rate at the moment, with 350 employees. There's a limit to what we know and what we can do, and we need to know to surround ourselves with people who are pros, right? And so it was about finding that fund who has experience in the consumer sector, experience in the hospitality sector, who can come and just support us and unlock doors for us and just be there with us on the journey. Now that was really hard, but and that's where active partners came in. And the reality is, thankfully, the Salad Project, due to everything we've discussed on this call, is a successful business, and the key metrics that investors looked at all looked good, which is why in the end we managed to pull through. But it's really hard, even in these moments. It's incredibly hard, and so I God forbid the tide turns, because when it does, it will be hard. And but for now, we look ahead. We have the money in the bank. We have great people supporting us. We've got a very clear vision of where we want to go, and we just gotta put our heads down now and try and make it happen.
Until the next series of funding, and the next series of funding, and the next series of funding after that, right?
And every time we'll have a chat and a debrief, Chris, if you want.
That sounds good. Now, and again, international expansion. So kind of like you're launching into France. I'm assuming these are company-owned stores that you're going to be putting into France then, is it? Or are you looking at franchise?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, not franchise. We're doing it all ourselves for now.
And tell us about the plan for France and kind of like how you're going to expand and open.
Well, listeners won't have had the kind of background around setting up this interview, but my life has been absolutely turned upside down over the last 3 weeks. I have relocated to Paris, and my wife is pregnant. I already have a little daughter. I'm running around trying to find nurseries whilst opening a store, whilst getting to grips with this. I'm French, so this is why I'm here, but I never really lived in Paris. So I'm getting to grips with how the city works, etc. The ambition is clear. We want to be, the most popular salad bar chain in the world, and that means that at some point we're going to have to get out of London and cross the Channel. And Paris just makes a lot of sense. Our customers are in Paris. We know it. There's a high density of people wanting what we do per square meter, and it's 2 hours on the train to London, and I'm French, so that really makes a lot of sense. But this is, on a personal note, it's only been 4.5 years, but obviously my job has radically changed from that moment I met you to now. I am further away from operations than I've ever been, but now I'm back in it. My hands are back in ops. I'm getting stuff off the ground. I'm running around, and it's on the one hand, it's kind of hard because I feel a bit rusty, and And obviously, I've got to kind of like balance my London responsibilities, which are more kind of strategic, to my very startup-y responsibilities here in Paris. So I'm in adaptation phase, but we firmly believe that Paris has got the potential for us to have the same successes as in London, and then it's just going to be a stepping stone to get to other major European cities in Europe.
And are there any refinements that you think you'll have to make in the concept to make it more kind of interesting for the Parisian market? Because I mean, Paris is tough, right?
Yeah, probably, and that's kind of also why I'm here, is to try and suss that out and understand where the refinements are going to need to be. I think the key is when we started in London, our challenge, there were not that many salad bars, and the challenge was to teach Londoners that it was okay, it was worth spending £13 on a salad rather than £6 on a sandwich, which is not easy, right? And that was our challenge. The challenge in Paris is radically different. There are salad bars everywhere, right? Every 10 meters in kind of, equivalent of the city, there's a salad bar chain. But in my humble opinion, they are maybe not quite as good as what Salad Project can be if it's well executed. And so the challenge there is to show Parisians who are used to spending €13 on a salad that actually there's a much better option that exists. And it's called the Salad Project if we execute it well. So that's very much our kind of biggest challenge.
Excellent. Now, just for a final question, like you started this kind of, as you said, kind of like 4.5 years ago, and if I'm right in saying, kind of like you weren't long out of university when you kind of set the whole thing up. In hindsight, kind of like, are there any additional skills that you wish that you'd acquired before setting up the business? Or any kind of like, learnings that you've had along the way, walls that you wish you hadn't ran into?
It's tough because in a way we launched it at a perfect time. I was a year out of university. I didn't have a dime, wasn't married, didn't have any children, had absolutely nothing to lose, and was just quite hated the job I'd landed into, and it just felt like it was easy to take that step. If I had to take that step now with the obviously more responsibilities that I have as a husband, as a father, it'd be radically different. So I wouldn't go back. In an ideal world, I think where we probably suffer the most is you would probably want to start a business having worked 5, 6 years in either investment, but actually probably more just in a company, just to see good processes, how things run. Like one of our biggest challenges now is when we started, it was about James and I being in the store and just making people from 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. just on the floor and just making sure that it ran, that the food arrived, that it was cooked, that it was served, the customers were happy, and that you can just go on with your day. Right now, it's radically different. It's all about, we've got a team of 20, 25 people in HQ. It's about making sure that the marketing team liaises with the product team, that liaises with the operational team. And it's a very different kind of level organization. And there, I would have probably loved to have had working 5, 6, 7 years at Amazon, seeing like just good ways of working, good ways of communicating. But we're learning as we go, and we don't have a choice. We just have to face the challenges, kind of face on, front on.
Love that. Florian, congratulations on the investment. Congratulations on the Canary Wharf
Thank
opening.
you.
I have been down and it looks absolutely amazing. And we have an office in France, so I think we should do this interview again in French for when you're launching kind of like into Paris as well, because that would be super cool, right?
Happily. Will you be the one interviewing in French, Chris?
No, you're showing me up. I've got a rusty Spanish, and that's pretty much it. But I have two very good colleagues who speak word perfect French, so I'm going to delegate that one out. But yeah, it's God, you put me on the spot. I'm the one interviewing you here. Come on. But anyway, thanks for jumping on. I really appreciate it.